All right, good morning, welcome back to TwinStick Garage. So picking up where I left off in the last episode, my goal today is to get this tandem set rebuilt and rolled out the door because I want to put the snowman truck back inside the nice warm shop because it's wrong to have such a beautiful truck sitting out in the snow. So with that, basically where I left off in the last episode was the back tandems were finger tight, so I was able to actually get the lock nut off of there, but the front ones were not. So I went over to Fort Garry and I picked up the right size socket for the lock nut, and then the other nut there in behind that holds the hub on. So I can get those off of there. I went over to C-Max, picked up some etching primer that'll hopefully slow down the rust, and then I did some high build, which will hopefully smooth it out. And then I bought what I believe is the movie correct color for the tandem set. So we'll find out. So the goal today is going to be just to get this thing painted, rebuilt. I got some new seals, put the wheels back on and roll this mess back outside, and then it'll be ready to go to stuff underneath the trailer. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and start working.
Eastbound and down, loaded up and trucking. Are we going to do what they say can't be done?
Okay, I'm getting quite a collection of these oversized sockets. Eventually I'll have them all. So what's this one here? 3 1/4. Yeah, so that should work. So that's the outer lock nut, and then this is the locking mechanism. So it catches, there's a little tab there that catches in the slot. And then on the inner nut here, there's a little nib that lines up with one of these holes and that locks it and keeps it from backing off while you're going down the road and having this full tandem set come flying off of here. So there is a procedure to put all this back on there, which will obviously follow when I reassemble this mess. Well, that makes quick work of that. Okay. One bearing. Man, I can't say how happy I am to have this grass gantry and how often it's come in handy. Thanks again, Don. It's really a back saver. Yeah, that'd be pretty tricky to do without the gantry. Now, if you didn't see the last episode, you're probably going, well, why aren't you taking the wheels off? Well, that would be probably the right way to do it. But I've never been accused of doing the right way. Actually, the main reason is these Daytons are rusted together, and I just don't feel like beating on them with a hammer for an hour to separate them. So this should still work because I can use the gantry in the reverse fashion and support the hub. I'll just have to make sure that it's centered and the weight's off it so I don't wreck the seal. But it should slide back on there and I should still be able to set the nut and turn it in the same fashion even if the wheels weren't on there. So Okay, do the same to the other side, and get this thing ready for some paint. Okay, next up is to get these old brake shoes off of here because I plan to replace them with new. So one trick I like to do is the adjustable wrench, and then you just pull these S-cam blocks out of there. Get out of there. And that takes the tension off this spring. And you can usually just pound out one of the pins. There it is. And you can just peel it off like a banana. Oh, come on. There she goes. Oof. A little bit of scaling on there. I think I'll get out the old needle gun and knock all this crap off. Okay. Oh, not bad. Not perfect, but not bad. Again, not quite as good as a sandblaster would be, but it knocks a lot of rust off. Look at all that junk sitting on the floor there. There's just a haze in the shop. Should probably open the door. Okay, so I guess next up, what I'll do is I'll clean the grease off the back spindles and then wrap those up because of course we don't want to paint that. And then what I might do is bring the gantry back here and pick this guy up, move it out of the way, and then I'll sweep the floor because we obviously don't want that stuff getting into the paint. And then I might lay down some plastic because I don't really want to paint the floor the same color as the tandem. So with that, I'll throw another time lapse on and move to the next step. Okay, getting down to the home stretch on the prep work. I'm just going to clean all these spindles and then mask them off. And then I also need to mask off the tires because I want to paint the Dayton wheels, but I don't want to paint the tires. So that's going to be a little bit of fun, but getting close, getting exciting now. I can't wait to start painting. That's always the funnest part. Oh, what a terrible job this is. Trying to mask a tire. Oh yeah, there's one. 3 to go. Okay, everything's masked, so I'm ready to paint. Now I just need to get set up here. So what I did was, I like to buy these as I treat them as disposable guns when they go on sale at Princess Auto. You can get these things for 40, 50 bucks when they're on sale. Because I find after one use, you never clean them up good enough, or at least I don't. So they're kind of throwaways. And I know that some folks might call that wasteful, but the way I look at it, I don't have a lot of skill when it comes to painting, so I like to set myself up for as much success as possible. And I figure a nice new and clean gun is one of the best ways. So, with that, screw that on there. Now, this one doesn't have a lot of controls on it. Usually there's an air control down there, but there isn't one, there's just a plug. So what I'm going to set is the main. What I like to do is go all the way out and then just start turning it, squeeze the trigger all the way in, and just start turning it till there's resistance, which is right about there. So that's wide open. So I might just go a little bit in from wide open. And then the fan, which I believe is this side adjustment here, I like to go all the way open with that, and then I like to tighten it up just a bit, so maybe a quarter turn ins. So that should be set up. Now this is a 1.8 nozzle. It's a little bigger. Normally I spray single stage with the 1.4, and I'm sure there's a lot of paint experts out there that are going to tell me otherwise, but usually you use your bigger tips on your primer, especially when you use high build primer. So we'll tighten that down. And then there's an air regulator that comes with it as well to control how much pressure you're spraying, because there's a regulator on the compressor, but that I find never does a good job. So they give you another one down on the gun, which is great because then you can set it at whatever, 20 psi, 25 psi, and then it should stay consistent while you spray. So I need to get a different an M fitting on there so I can put my air hose on. All right, so whenever you're painting, you don't want to screw around with your lungs. You only get one set of lungs, so you want to buy a nice new set of cartridges. So these are the organic vapor ones that hopefully keep out all the nasties. Okay. Now, next up, I've got to mix the primer. So, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I got two kinds of primer. I got etching. So etch prime, this is the activator, and where's the primer? There it is, etch primer. So my plan is going to be to do this first. I'm going to put a layer of this on. So this obviously bare rusty metal. I want the etching primer to soak in and hopefully stop the rust from continuing. And then after that, I got, pardon me, I got some high build primer, the same stuff I used last year on Snowman. So this is good high build to hopefully fill in some of the low spots and make it look as smooth as possible. And yeah, and then I also got the paint too, but that'll come tomorrow. So I'm going to do the etching primer, then the high build, and then I'm probably going to call it a day, and then I'll come back tomorrow and actually paint it. So with that, I believe this etching primer, you always want to read the instructions. Mix ratio is 2:1, and dry time 20 to 30 minutes. Application 1 medium wet coat. Okay, so I'm going to put my mask on so I don't have to breathe this stuff.
And it's also a good idea to get yourself a nice pair or a box of gloves, box of painting gloves. Because again, these chemicals, you don't really want to get them on your skin if you can avoid it. Okay. I'm running out of bench space here. Gotta do a shop cleanup. Okay, so that was 2-to-1, right? Combine the components. Etch primer 2, activator 1. So we use our fancy measuring cup here. Where did I put my... Give it a little stir. There's probably some heavies down below. Okay, so 2-to-1. I gotta think how this goes again. So 2 parts primer, so I could do 4, and then yeah, so 4 with primer and then 2 to the 6 with the activator. So that would be 4 parts primer, 2 parts activator. That's 2-to-1, as far as I know. Okay. So, until we hit the 4. Something like that. And then I'll put 2 parts of this stuff in here, so we'll go until we hit the 6. Looking good, so we'll give this a good stir. And then, yeah, pour it in the gun and away we go. We'll do a test spray. And then off to the races. All right, looking good. Pour it into the gun. All right. Give her a go. Try that. 40's a little high. We'll try 25. Okay. So like I say, there's the etching primer. I went a little heavy in the wheels because that's what you're going to see first. So that matters more to me. And then I tried to stretch that one quart that I had as much as I could, but I think I got some decent coverage. So now it's probably already been 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. So by the time I mix up the high build primer, this stuff should be flashed over and I can just keep on trucking here. Now, one of the learnings I had was my gun actually got gummed up because what I didn't do was I didn't use a filter. I had to clean out the little screen at the bottom of the tank here, and then I cleaned that out, and then I was good to go, and then I just filtered it off. A lot of sediment in that etching primer, so good tip. Use a filter before you pour paint in your gun. What did I say? 4 parts primer, 1 part activator. Okay. So we'll just do the 1-to-1. I'll do 4, and then I'll just do 1 to number 5. 4. And then 1 part activator. Filter. Always a good idea. All right, still painting. Yeah, it turned out pretty decent. Not perfect, but not too bad. Definitely better than it was. Okay, the wheels look pretty decent as well. So that's still primer, so I'm gonna let that harden and rest up overnight, and then yeah, I'll come back and hit it with the movie correct color.
Whew. That's messed up. Okay, Heisenberg. Next week.